What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here, and you already know what game we have to kick off our bowl previews with. We have the Celebration Bowl this weekend, the MEAC versus the SWAC champion in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, 11 a.m. Central kickoff live on ABC this Saturday. We have the Deion Sanders led Jackson State Tigers taking on South Carolina State this weekend, in which Jackson State is a 10-point favorite as I'm recording today. And this is the only FCS bowl in the country. It's going to take place in a sold out Mercedes Benz Stadium. I believe this is the first ever time the Celebration Bowl has sold out, and the entire country's eyes are going to be on this game to determine who is going to be the Black College National Champions for the 2021 season. Now, both of these teams making their first Celebration Bowl appearance, but Jackson State enters as the favorite as the SWAC champions, 11-1. Only loss coming to Louisiana Monroe in week 3, and the Tigers have a chance to become the first SWAC winners of this game since 2016, when Grambling won the only Celebration Bowl for the SWAC. And Deion Sanders and this team could make history in his first full season as the head coach for the Jackson State Tigers, man. And, he just won the Coach of the Year award for the FCS. Shador winning the Jerry Rice Award, first HBCU player to win that award. There's a lot of momentum for this Jackson State team coming into this weekend. So this would just be the topping of it all, man, to win the Celebration Bowl for Jackson State. Now, South Carolina State, like I said, making their first appearance, enters at 6-5. They're 1-2 against the SWAC this year. They have losses to FAMU and Alabama A&M, a close win against Bethune-Cookman, and the Bulldogs are looking to extend that MEAC winning streak to 4 games over the SWAC. And Buddy Pough has a chance to pull off arguably one of the biggest upsets of the year if he can find a way for South Carolina State to beat Jackson State. Now, let's get into the keys of the game, man. That is a huge stage this weekend. What is going to be the keys for these teams to pull off the win? We'll start with Jackson State, and it should be obvious what I'm going to say if you watched any Jackson State game this season. This offense starts, ends, begins, whatever you want to say, with Shador Sanders in this passing attack. Jackson State is one of those teams that has to set the run up off the threat of the pass, kind of like they did against Prairie View. And they're going to have to try to take advantage of the South Carolina State secondary that's allowed over 222 yards per game this season. That was second best in the MEAC. It would rank top 6 in the SWAC this season. But look at this passing attack for Jackson State, over 254 yards per game through the air, and the key player every single week, man. He's only had one off week, and that was against Prairie View. This kid has been on fire, and that is Shador Sanders. 67% completion percentage for over 3,000 passing yards, 29 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions this year. He has been exceptional with his pocket presence, his leadership, his clutchness in games like against Southern on the road to keep their season alive. Shador Sanders has lived up to all the hype and more, and you've really seen a different side of him since the switch to TC Taylor as the play caller. He seems to be a lot more comfortable in that offense, taking some shots. You've seen the wide receivers they use a majority of the time evolve. They were doing a lot of underneath stuff with like a Warren Newman and a Josh Lanier, and now it's evolved to more of a downfield passing attack with Keith Corbin, Malachi Wadman, and Trevante Rucker. This offense, when it's clicking at its highest level, is almost impossible to stop. And it really is because Shador can sit in the pocket with his excellent pocket presence and be a point guard and distribute the ball to his playmakers that always put them in perfect positions to go make a play for this offense. Now, the wide receivers you have to look out for, Keith Corbin and Malachi Wadman, are the top 2 receivers you got to look for. Wadman, 12 receiving touchdowns this year, almost 500 yards receiving, and he really didn't even get to see the field until about the Alabama A&M game. And then Keith Corbin has really emerged down the stretch, 65 catches, almost 900 yards receiving, and 6 receiving touchdowns. Now, Dakobi Durant is going to be someone to watch on that in that South Carolina State secondary, but who is going to be that number 2 corner to step up and stop the other guy? If I'm South Carolina State, I am sticking to Dakobi Durant on Malachi Wadman, and I am going to have to make Keith Corbin beat me, because Keith Corbin, even though he has more catches and things like that, Wadman is that explosive play threat. If Wadman can get loose downfield, you're talking about Jackson State potentially running away with this one because of the ability to score in 1 to 2 plays. The number one thing for South Carolina State against this Jackson State offense is to limit explosive plays, and Wadman is lightning in a bottle. And so if I'm Dakobi Durant, I'm saying I got him. I'm traveling with him. We need the other guys to step up and pick up Corbin, Rucker, Neer, Newman, whoever else might be out there, but you have to limit Malachi Wadman's explosiveness, and not many defenses have been able to do that this year. Now, the other thing was we saw against Prairie View, this rushing attack for Jackson State really emerged with Peyton Pickett being the lead guy. They've only averaged 95 yards rushing per game this year. That is last in the SWAC, but you saw Peyton Pickett sort of pick things up against Prairie View. He seems to be reading the hole better, hitting it with more explosiveness. That's going to be something to see. I still think, like I said a few previews ago, if Jackson State gets 75 or more yards rushing, this team is very tough to beat. Peyton Pickett, 435 on the ground this year, 5 rushing touchdowns. You also have a change of pace back in Santee Marshall, but those are really the 2 guys you're going to see at the running back spot. J.D. Martin, I believe, is banged up. We really haven't seen him these past few weeks, so look for Pickett and Marshall to kind of be the guys on the ground for Jackson State, but it all starts and ends with Deion Sanders. If he gets going through the air, I have a very tough time seeing South Carolina State pulling off this upset. You have to do what Prairie View did 2 weeks ago. Make that passing attack non-existent, and South Carolina State has to be way better against the run. On top of that, turning the ball over really costs Prairie View. So if you had to pick your poison, you would much rather Jackson State run the ball on you. But we've really only seen one team stop that passing attack, especially since TC Taylor and Shedeur have really seemed to get in sync. So Deion Sanders is by far the key for this game. If he can be the distributor, not turn the ball over, and create a handful of explosive plays, Jackson State's winning this one walking away, in my opinion. Now, for South Carolina State, the key for the Bulldogs has to lie in the rushing attack. It's been known for weeks now, week after week, I've said it. If you want to have a chance to beat Jackson State, you're going to have to run the football. You look, Southern gave them problems. They ran the football well. Alcorn was in that game early, running the football. You have to put the ball on the ground and try to find some rushing lanes. And Texas Southern in the first 3 quarters, rushing the football very well, kept them in the game. And when you look at how this is going to have to play out, it's going to be South Carolina State's probably toughest task that they've seen outside of maybe Clemson. I mean, this Jackson State front 7 is allowing less than 100 yards per game on the ground, less than 3 yards per carry, like 2.8 yards per carry for the season. It is not going to be an easy task for this offensive line to find make some rushing lanes for these running backs. Now, the rushing offense for South Carolina State, about 140 yards per game, 3rd in the MEAC. It'd be 7th in the SWAC. And they have one guy that is going to have a big game, and he's probably going to be the X factor this weekend. Kendrell Flowers at running back, man, 811 rushing yards, over 5 yards per carry, and 10 rushing touchdowns. They have 2 guys in Dante Anthony and Ja'Cory Benson that are more of rotational guys, both about 150 yards rushing, 6 combined touchdowns. Anthony has really been the focal point in terms of the backup running back spot, but Kendrell Flowers has to be big this weekend. I mean, you're talking about Kendrell Flowers probably has to rush for 100 or more yards this weekend and probably have a rushing touchdown or 2. You have to control the clock. You have to control the pace of the game. And on top of that, you really got to keep this defense off balance. If they make you one-dimensional, the game's over. I'm just being honest. If you're one-dimensional, it's over. That's what killed Texas Southern. They couldn't pass the ball. So all Jackson State did was load the box and make Andrew Buddy try to throw the ball. You look at Alcorn. They really gave that passing attack some problems down the stretch, really shut down the run in the second half. Prairie View, They could run the ball just a little bit, nothing through the air. They made Juwan Pass look like an amateur quarterback. So you have to run the football right now if you're South Carolina State just to give yourself a chance in this one. So Kendrell Flowers is going to be huge. Now, the passing offense would rank 8th in the SWAC with about 210 yards per game, the second in the MEAC. And Corey Fields Jr., the quarterback for South Carolina State, is going to have to probably, in my opinion, play his best game of the year. Only completing about 50% of his passes, 1,900 passing yards, 13 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. And listen, I'm going to say this with all respect, with all the respect I can. If he is not better he's not more efficient, he's not more accurate with the football, and he catches the turnover bug like he's had at times this year, South Carolina State's getting run out of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's not even going to be close. Corey Fields Jr. is going to have to step up his play tremendously this weekend. 50% completion percentage, 10 interceptions is not going to ever cut it against this Jackson State defense. They have not seen a defense at the FCS level like this all season. Corey Fields is going to have to step his game up. Now, they do have some very talented wide receivers. You look at Saquon Davis and also Will Vereen. These two guys are going to be huge for South Carolina State. Will Vereen is a matchup nightmare. I'm very interested to see if they put Nugget on him or if they trust CJ Holmes or one of these other corners on Will Vereen, because I think he is going to probably be the #1 receiving threat for South Carolina State. 44 catches, over 560 yards, 3 touchdowns. Davis, 652 with 5 touchdowns. He's more of a deep threat, almost 20 yards per catch for him. And then on top of that, they also have Richard Bailey as that kind of third slot type of guy. 33 catches, 361, and 2 touchdowns. But these wide receivers are going to have to help Fields out. If they cannot create separation and they allow these Jackson State DBs to stick to them all game long, run stride for stride, it's going to be a long day for South Carolina State. They have to try to be more efficient with their passing game. They've hit some explosive plays. They can do some very nice things to the air. The problem is it's not efficient enough, and the accuracy is really missing right now in Fields' game. So that's a major, major concern moving forward, which is why running the football will really aid this passing attack, helping them get some one-on-one matchups on the outside and potentially some high percentage throws. That's the #1 thing you want to do if you're South Carolina State. You need to get Fields some easy, high percentage throws to kind of build his confidence and get him into rhythm. If he starts out like Juwan Pass did last week or 2 weeks ago, it's going to be a long day for South Carolina State, and we're going to see a Jackson State blowout. So they have to run the football, get Fields going early in the football game, and avoid turnovers. That is going to be the keys for South Carolina State. Now, I usually do matchups to watch. I have like a matchup / stat to watch. We'll start with the matchup. It's no question. If you watch the FAMU South Carolina State game, there's no question what the matchup to watch is going to be. South Carolina State's offensive line against this Jackson State defensive line is going to really, I think, is absolutely going to determine who wins this game. The South Carolina State O-line has only allowed 15 sacks this season. That would rank first in the SWAC. It definitely ranks first in the MEAC. It was a strength most of the season. I'll say that. They did not hold up, though, against the good D-lines they faced. When you look at that Florida A&M game, Isaiah Land in that Florida A&M defensive line wreaked havoc. 6 sacks, almost 10 tackles for loss. They forced the Bulldogs into multiple turnovers due to pressure, 3 interceptions, a fumble, and a 30-7 blowout loss to FAMU. That cannot happen this weekend. You have to move the pocket, get away from James Houston. You have to chip them. You got to cut. You got to do something. Make anybody other than James Houston beat you up front. And it's way easier said than done, but that's going to have to be a key. You can let Niles Gaddy beat you, let Antoine Owens beat you, anybody other than James Houston, because he is a game wrecker. And he is also one of those players that he can win a game single-handedly himself, man. That defense is so talented, but James Houston is that guy up front. And when you look at the defensive line, it's been one of the most dominant in the entire FCS this season. 52 sacks. That's over 4 sacks per game for Jackson State. That's an astronomical pace for any team. And like I said, James Houston, 14.5 sacks, 21.5 tackles for loss, 9 QB hurries, 7 forced fumbles, an interception, and 2 defensive touchdowns. A game changer. That's all you can say. James Houston is a game changer, game wrecker, whatever title you want to put on him. And the diversity that Jackson State has up front. They have 6 players with 3 or more sacks this season, which really shows how dominant this front 7 can be. Niles Gaddy, Antoine Owens are the other 2 guys on that front 7. 10 combined sacks, over 22 tackles for loss combined as well. Owens with over 60 total tackles. Those are the other 2 guys you have to account for up front, along with Coinus Miller in the run game. Is a game wrecker playing in the backfield. So this offensive line really has this work cut out for them. Now, the reason I had to mention, the stat to watch is going to be the turnover differential. If South Carolina State wants any chance to win this game, they have to win the turnover battle. That is the most crucial stat of the game. If they give Jackson State extra possessions, allow those defensive playmakers to turn the turnovers into a quick 6 points, it's going to be over extremely fast, extremely early. Now, South Carolina State has forced 22 turnovers this season. That's one of the highest marks in the MEAC. And winning the turnover battle has been really key for them. They lost the turnover battle in 3 of their 5 losses this season, including the -4 turnover differential in their blowout loss to FAMU. You have to protect the football. Interceptions have been a problem for South Carolina State on the offensive side of the ball. If that doesn't change this weekend, it's going to be a problem, because I think Jackson State has arguably one of the best secondaries they've seen all season long, probably second to only Clemson that South Carolina State saw week 2. This is going to be crucial for South Carolina State not to turn the football over. I mean, I'm really pumped for this game, but if they just start turning the football over left and right, this game is going to be over by halftime. I'm just gonna put it out there. But looking at this matchup, man, my final prediction is kind of looking at how things turn out. Jackson State is notoriously slow starters. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. In the first half, they can't do anything. They just always seem to be – they never seem to be warmed up immediately outside of the Alabama A&M game. I think this team does come in fired up. I do see it being a close first half, score, probably like a 10-0, 10-3 type thing. Maybe like a 14-6, something like that. I do think it's going to be a 1, maybe low 2 score game going into halftime, but I do think Jackson State is too deep, too physical, too fast for the South Carolina State team. I think they're a matchup nightmare for them, because you don't have it. The number one thing you need is an accurate, efficient quarterback to beat Jackson State. South Carolina State just does not have that right now. They're going to hope special teams and somehow forcing Shedeur, this offense, into some turnovers is going to be the best way to win this game. I don't see it happening. I think James Houston wreaks havoc. Niles Gaddy wreaks havoc. I think this defense is just too good. I have Jackson State winning this one 28-10 over South Carolina State, pulling away in the second half. I think it even could be worse than that. But due to the slow starts Jackson State tends to have, I'm going to go on the conservative side. 28-10 win for Jackson State as they win the Celebration Bowl for the first time in school history. They do cover the 10-point spread. They win it by 18, in my opinion. And I think Jackson State makes a big statement. 12-1 this season, man. And listen, I was a doubter at the beginning of the season. I didn't pick them to win the SWAC. I am you can call me a believer now, man. They proved everything that they were talking in the spring correct. Shout out to Coach Deion Sanders and that team, man. They deserve it. Best team in the SWAC this season by far, and they're my pick to win the Celebration Bowl this weekend. But guys, this is our game of the week this weekend. Comment your score predictions below. Enter our I'm gonna raise it $100 Venmo giveaway, man. If you predict the correct score and winner of this game in the comments, make sure to subscribe. Comment your score below to enter that. Make sure to hit the like button on the video, man. Appreciate y'all supporting. Listen, if you're traveling to Atlanta this weekend, y'all be safe, man. Have a blast. I'm so glad this game sold out. Make sure, if you're not going to the game, to watch this game. Drive the views up. It only helps FCS football as a whole. So make sure to tune in this Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time, live on ABC. But guys, y'all be safe this weekend. More Blue Bloods content coming later this week. Tune in tonight for our bowl season mailbag. Make live 6:30 p.m. Central Time, man. So be there. But until next time, guys, the Blue Bloods are out.